Welcome to Full Fashion Finish Strong Friday. And if that didn't get your motor running, I don't know what will. I wanted to start today's session off a little bit different. And yes, that is the new 2014 Corvette Stingray. And it is as stunning to drive as it is to look at. Only fitting because today's session is, ladies and gentlemen, rev your engines. I want you to get ready for your possible future. But also today, I'm excited because I'm launching a new book on Amazon.com. It's actually a reboot, a third edition of a program I created back in 1996, one that hundreds of people have gone through, that is now called You Change Now. It's available free on Amazon in Kindle version, and after March the 4th, it will cost you a cup of coffee, $2.99 to buy it. And believe me, it will be well worth it. But as I mentioned in last week's session, the number one question I get is, Brandon, how did you become successful? And as I said last week, it's because I'm down with OTP. Yeah, you know me, but it's more than that. The number two question I get is, Brandon, how can I do it too? The hope is, if someone ordinary like me can become successful, then maybe they can too. That's also why we love a good testimony, once we've gotten mature enough to stop hating, and root for the rags to riches story. Mine certainly fits that bill. And don't look at what you see now. I've had a large dose of test trials and temptations, but at critical stages of my life, I got well-timed help. Anybody know about that? Assistance, coaching, and mentoring right at the point of need. The culmination of my God-given gifts, my persistence and staying power, that well-timed help, mentoring, and my desire to serve, my mission, have come together to make my life what it is in this moment. And while all of that has made me passionate about my mission of helping millions achieve success one at a time, I am not finished, and you aren't either. The real key to your success is finding what you were put here on this earth to do, your mission. I have counseled hundreds of people, and back in 1992, I came up with something to help people determine exactly what they were put here to do. And I call it the Joshua experience. Yes, it's biblical in nature, but it's universal in theme. And this is not going to be a Bible study, but a study in how human beings become what they were designed at birth to become. And don't worry, I'm not going to pass the offering plate. So I want to read you from the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Moses, my servant, is dead. Now that's a tough act to follow. Now Joshua, therefore, go and arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. Now imagine, if you've ever seen the Ten Commandments, how in the world Joshua thought he was going to follow Moses. That is truly a tough act to follow. Have you ever thought that you can't do something that someone else has? What makes them better than you? If you face the facts, it's only in your mind that you make them better. How do you know that greatness lies on the inside of you? That you have the ability to do what appears today to be the impossible? It is that innate, inherent, engrafted gift that is given to each of us at our birth. It is simply desire. Can you see from this scripture that God gave Joshua a vision of the possible future before he showed him the plan to obtain it? He gave him all the boundaries of what would be his material life, and then he showed him who he must become to obtain it. So as we look at this circle and these series of boundaries for Joshua, he had the wilderness, Lebanon, from the Euphrates to the land of the Hittites, to the great sea, to the going down of the sun and the sunset. All of those were the boundaries of material possession that God showed him before Joshua even knew he was capable knew he was able, and even knew who he must become in order to do it. Yours and my life is no different. And so I came up with this exercise back in 1992 to take the essence of what we all are, which are beings that inherently and innately desire material things, and to help us define for our lives our boundaries, our possible future. So this is what I came up with, and it is easy as 1, 2, 3, 4. The first thing I want you to do is to choose the car of your dreams. The ones that makes you turn your head when you see it. The one where you go to the showroom and look at it. You've got the brochure, you've got the screensaver. For a moment, I want you to suspend all thoughts of limitation. Calculate the total cost of that car or cars if you want more than one. I'll even give you permission to pay full retail, never again. But now don't worry about haggling or price or limitations. Simply think of the cost of the car. So let's say you want 2 cars and the total value of them is $100,000. That is your level of desire, one of your boundaries. Step number 3 is to then multiply the value of your cars, in this example, $100,000, times 2. That now equals $200,000. That is your immediate earning potential, or the boundary for your earning. Then step 4 is to multiply that $200,000 immediate earning potential by 3. And that's $600,000. That becomes the value of your home or your homes. And then finally, multiply that $600,000 by 4, $2.4 million. And yes, that is your net worth over a period of time. It could be tomorrow, it could be 5 years, 10 years. But the reality of what we're doing now is we're creating your possible future. So as you look at this grid, it all begins by what drives you. What is the dream car? What is car number 2, number 3? Take the total cost, multiply it by 2, and what do you get? Your immediate, not your final and overall goal, but your immediate earning potential. Multiply that times 3, you get the value of your homes. Maybe there's a guest home, a nice home in the summer, and a cabin home in the winter. But then multiplying that times 4, your net worth. So if you don't have a clue today of what you're supposed to become, and I know most of you that are watching are in sales, and that's great, but you may be still trying to find your way through OTP in terms of opportunity, timing, and people, exactly who you are, where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to serve. But if you don't know right now what you're supposed to do, who you're supposed to become, simply fall in love with the car. And I can hear the voices of materialism screaming from the mountaintops. But if you go back to what happened with Joshua and God, he wanted to make sure he was sufficiently excited about what he was going to give him for fulfilling his mission on this earth. Now, no, don't go out and buy that car today based on credit or based on a job that you're in right now that you hate. That's where golden handcuffs come in, where you're trying to get material things first, and then you'll say to yourself, fulfillment later. The reality is you've got to meditate on the car, begin to see yourself in the throes of the activity that would actually allow you to have that car, and eventually there'll be a flash of revelation, inspiration, intuition that will lead you to the perfect path for you, and then the perfect materialization of that goal, your car. I did this exercise years ago for someone. It was actually probably around 1994. And she came to me and I said, "What's your dream car?" And at that time, it was probably a 1995 BMW 525. I remember it very clearly. I had a magazine that had all the new cars of the year in it. And I didn't at that time want a BMW, though I own one today. And I tore out that picture and I handed it to her. And I literally told her, don't think, don't act, don't write, just simply allow yourself to see getting in that car. Each and every morning, getting in that car, driving to work, going to lunch in it, and doing all the things you normally do. See yourself behind it. But on about the 10th to 11th day, she said as she was going to the car, she was in a white outfit. And then she panned backward and saw herself in a traditional nursing outfit. And I literally said to her, "Is that what you'd want to do?" And then she began in on the excuses. Brandon, I can't go back to school. Brandon, I can't go to nursing school. I may not be smart enough. And I immediately shut her down. I said, no, the excuses are the barrier that are keeping you from the goal of your dreams. You've got to build a bridge for that barrier, which we also cover in the You Change Now program. I can tell you now, and I didn't get to follow up with her subsequently, but she did enter into nursing school. But it would be my thought now, and maybe through social media, she'll find me, she'll see this, and maybe let me know what happened. But I can almost assure you that she completed nursing school. She's in the midst of a great career, likely driving, you guessed it, a BMW. So here's the thing about this activity as well. Even if your dreams are for BMWs, Mercedes, I always tell people you'll never be given Mercedes-Benz desire and only have hoopty ability. I've driven clunkers. I've driven cars that barely made it down the road. But at that time, I could see myself driving what I'm driving today. And if you can see it, you can all feel free to say it, you can be it. You must become, you must be, in order to manifest. So who must you become to have your dream car, the income, the house, and the net worth? If you begin to focus on these boundaries of your personal Joshua experience, you will begin to get that revelation, the intuition, and the path laid out for you that will lead you to all of these things. But here's something greater than just the material that comes from this type of visualization and this type of idealization of what you want out of life. There's something about the way the Creator made us that He wanted us to live full, complete lives. And I call this the Fab Five. And that's mentally, spiritually, socially, physically, as well as financially. In order for you to be well-rounded and so that the things don't own you, but that you actually enjoy them and are a good steward of them, you've got to be able to live the balanced life. Now, this is not a silly exercise. Though you can see my field of dreams right now in the cars that I desire, the journey that I did to make this was not an easy one. I shared with you a couple of weeks ago about the Little Debbie stronghold that I had to kick. But believe me, there were many other things that I had to fight along the way. But there was one thing that God told Joshua, if you continue to read there in chapter 1. As he probably saw the look on Joshua's face, which demonstrated what he believed was an inability to achieve the boundaries God had just laid out for him, God simply says the same thing I'll say to you today. Be strong and of a good courage. Be strong and of a good courage. And a third time God says to Joshua, haven't I told you to only be strong and of a good courage? But good courage intimates that there is bad courage. You know, we have something we say right now that you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's right, but for a season. We shouldn't wake up every decade feeling some fear and doing it anyway. Sooner or later, the most perfect good courage is to feel the faith and let what your actions be are an extension of who you are, what you believe, and what you have to become. It took me 10 years to buy my first Corvette. It took 10 weeks to get the second one. Only then because I had to wait, like thousands of others. And I then realized as 11 cars were being offloaded off of a truck in Duluth, Georgia at my dealership, where the guy who's now a sales manager called me to offer me one of the first cars, that there are still thousands of people who have the ability to buy them, who want to buy them, who desire them, that can't right now. And believe me, I understand that to be a blessing. And I understand that to be the flow that I'm now telling you to operate in by way of revving your engine and looking at your possible future. So you've got to fight. You've got to dream. You've got to pursue, because this is about you and your possible future. So ladies and gentlemen, rev up your engines. And until next Friday, I wish you money, power, success.